Hello and welcome to Maximum McFly, the first talking book about the band. It was written and researched by Michael Sumption, music is by Amanda Thompson and it's read by Sian Jones. You can check out our full catalogue on our website at www.chromedreams.co.uk.
Hello everyone, I'm Harry and I'm the drummer.
Hi, I'm Danny and I'm the guitarist.
Hi, I'm Dougie and I'm the bass player.
Oh, well that was Hi, I'm Tom and I'm the guitarist and I sing as well.
A rare commodity in a musical climate dictated by shabby formulas, marketing second-guessing and anodyne superficiality, McFly are a proper guitar pop act with swagger, energy, wide appeal and hooks to die for. They are here to restore a sense of romance, spirit and youthful abandon to the state of guitar rock and pop in the 21st century. McFly are a real one-off in an industry saturated with second-generation copies and scheming chancers hell-bent on capitalising upon the latest trend. They connect with anyone who loves music with genuine emotional heft, great tunes and a sense of urgency due to the quality of the songwriting and the effervescence of the guys' performances. Each song is a masterclass in grace, charm, everyday poetry, vigour and aching street swagger. Their music is a pulsating motherboard of guitars and classic pop melodies that beats the rhythm of a particularly competitive computer game and avoids the retro pastiche ludicrousness of many modern skinny young things. There is no artifice here, just a resolute commitment to distilling the essence of what makes vintage guitar music great. Over the past decade, plenty of groups have sought to capture the spirit and sound of all-time greats, like the Beatles, the Beach Boys and the Rolling Stones. Unfortunately, most have replaced invention with bombast, too prosaic to come up with something truly eccentric, glorious or innovative. McFly, thankfully, are the exception. The music this exciting quartet makes goes way beyond plain imitation, into a sound world of nagging familiarity, coupled with exuberance and fevered intensity. Their music achieves an alchemical mix of melody, imagination, mystery and joy that shows pop can still surprise, move and inspire. Musically, McFly achieve an invigorating head rush from the standard guitar, bass, drums lineup and the archetypal modern guitar pop sound that encompasses 60s songcraft, 70s new wave angularity and post-punk, post-Britpop indie. Their yearning, billowing songs translate the language of alternative rock and pop into the florid realm of the imagination and inject the mainstream with a dose of wild hedonism and teen spirit. Their heart-on-the-sleeve lyrics go deeper than both your typical CD UK puppets and your willfully obscure indie heroes, capturing the joy, drama and pain of youth's transition into adulthood. Their expertly produced songs veritably drip emotion, swooning with absolute love of the melody of the English language writ large. They approach a sophistication and grand sweep emotion that eludes most of their contemporaries, but McFly wield an extra magic to their melodicism and barely contain poetic ecstasies. Smart, sharp and full of fun, they embody a manic exuberance and self-confidence that comes from being young, creatively charged and desperate to make your mark. There is something hopeful, uplifting, positive and energising about these songs, lacking as they do any contrivance or awkward posturing. Tunes like theirs were in abundant supply during pop's halcyon years, namely the mid-1960s through to the early 1970s, but now are so much more difficult to find amidst the overcrowded marketplace of corporate tedium and fluffy banality. In a sense, they have arrived to resurrect our faith in this melodic heritage and add their own quixotic 21st century spin. At their most bullish, vein-bulging riffs and heady lyrics swat aside any criticisms of style over substance, while the unashamedly fun tunes weave in and out of your consciousness till you surrender to their exquisite impetus. Entranced by rock history and mired in impeccable influences, McFly construct raw, dramatic, magical songs that stay embedded in your psyche. Glacial guitars ping out with a bell-like clarity, describing curt sing-along melodies that make your heart swell in the scented air. They are a band who access the timeless rock and roll desire to articulate their time and place and transcend them. They certainly have an armoury fit to attack and conquer the mainstream, an amp-popping live show, a youthful urgency, a fascination with pop history and a catalogue of songs that deliver blasts of infectious, captivating sonic nirvana. They are pushing all the right buttons for pop ascendancy, employing tongue-in-cheek lyricism, media-friendly ubiquity, and a jerky guitar attack that smelts the classic rock and pop canon into a dazzling head-spinning punch. Theirs is a sound that rattles along on a blissful buzz of jangling guitars, pop harmonies, and bug-eyed exuberance. Informing the feet as much as the head, McFly's music skillfully avoids the formulaic predictability of most music in their chosen field. Their candour is as refreshing as it is revealing, the often smart, sassy songs falling between strategic menace and crowd-pleasing acquiescence. They are a rallying cry to the disillusioned, a window of hope to abandoned souls and jaded cynics. Music hasn't been the same since McFly emerged on the scene. At first listen, their sound can be overfamiliar, but once you settle into the groove, it is apparent that there is a lot more going on than with most guitar slingers of their generation. Time invested is repaid in bountiful dividend as this spiky, catchy, insidious pop can raise a huge profile of feelings. In different moods, it shifts and shimmers, reaching places other teen poppers haven't heard of, suggesting different shades for the canvas of your day and introspective self. McFly are a vital contribution to the belief that salvation can come from music. These gifted, precocious guys create a scintillating, thrilling and enthralling surge of power pop that appeals across generations and backgrounds. They are an attempt to remedy the lack of the wow factor in contemporary music, harking back to the glory days when art and music inspired you to do more than just sit and passively listen. They are destined to get better and better, ripping the rule books to shreds and inventing new and exciting things in the process.
Well, we all met each other. Tom met Danny first through an audition that Tom was helping out for, and they basically met because Danny auditioned and Tom really liked his voice and his playing and stuff. So they went and chatted to each other, and Danny started going down to London and writing with Tom and stuff, and basically they became friends like that. And then they got all these McFly songs and got the record deal and needed a drummer and bass player, so they auditioned for me and Dougie.
All four members of McFly were destined to carve out some kind of a music-related career, as they were all bitten by the music bug in their formative years. Danny Alan David Jones was born in Bolton, Lancashire on the 12th of March 1986 in the Royal Infirmary Hospital and was brought up in the city by his parents alongside his older sister Vicky. This blue-eyed, freckled youngster loved PE at school and was particularly good at football. At an early age, he discovered the power of music and the movies and became obsessed with learning the guitar and playing along to records. The first film to make a major impression on him was E.T., which remains his favourite to this day. Musically, Bruce Springsteen became his major point of reference and icon. The first record he bought was by The Boss, and the first concert he attended was Springsteen's gig at Manchester's MEN Arena on his 91-92 tour. He fell in love with the songs Born to Run and Born in the USA and became immersed in his catalogue. Springsteen's muscular guitar playing, impassioned vocals, unforgettable anthemic melodies and literate songs of the American everyman struck a deep chord with the young Danny. He also loved the whole sound of the E Street Band, relishing the interplay and camaraderie inherent on those groundbreaking records. Other acts he discovered included The Who, The Stones, The Beatles and legendary bluesman John Lee Hooker. As he hit his early teens, there was no doubt as to his choice of future career. Dougie Pointer hails from Corringham, Essex, and was born at Orsett Hospital on the 30th of November 1987. He was raised in Essex with his sister Jazzy by their mum. This future bass legend, renowned for his fear of the dark, discovered through music that there was an alternative to the 9-to-5 routine and spent most of his spare time in different bands. The glamour, the beauty, the potency of making music appealed to him much more than the world of education and an office job ever could. Once he realised he had some aptitude for music, he was off in pursuit of that dream. The first ever live gig he attended was a Wet 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 show at Wembley, but he soon gravitated towards music of an edgier, more alternative nature. Grunge and its offshoots provided sustenance for Dougie in late childhood and adolescence. The new metal sounds of acts such as Blink-182 and Korn became staples of his musical diet. Harry Mark Christopher Judd, nicknamed Juddy Harold, was born in Chelmsford, Essex on the 23rd of December 1985, where he grew up with his parents and sister. The drumming icon went to the same Uppingham school as Charlie from Fight Star, where he excelled at cricket, art and history. Music became just another preoccupation alongside his sporting and artistic activities, until he realised that being in a band was all he wanted as a future career. The first gig he attended was a Doors tribute band show, and by his early teens he was eagerly consuming the sounds of classic guitar bands like Led Zeppelin, The Beatles and The Who, alongside modern acts like Blink-182 and The Used. His first album purchase was the Oasis title What's the Story? Morning Glory. For him too, music provided the key to another way of life, a secret society. Tom Fletcher, guitarist and vocalist in the group, was born in Harrow on the 17th of July 1985. He was brought up in a unit of 4 with his parents and little sister Carrie. He grew up listening to pioneering 60s pop bands like the Beatles and the Beach Boys, eschewing the modern grunge and new metal sounds. Tom fell in love with the beauty, melody, style, freshness and sophistication of albums such as Revolver, Pet Sounds, Abbey Road, Surf's Up and Rubber Soul, records that were evocative of their era but still spoke to all generations with their timeless grace and peerless songwriting. Their invention, harmonies, arrangements and poetic sensibility showed him that popular music could attain levels of ambition, intelligence, profundity and innovation usually associated with highbrow forms of music such as classical or jazz. Moreover, taken individually, the songs of Brian Wilson and the great Lennon-McCartney partnership melted his heart with their concise, elaborate, literate poetry and immaculate economy. Nothing these writers composed at the peak of their powers suffered from over-egging the creative pudding, their keen sense of craft ensuring there was no unnecessary embellishment or self-indulgence. Tom was in love with the timeless sound of the Beatles and the Beach Boys and spent all his spare time listening and trying to learn their tricks. He displayed an early aptitude for the guitar and was soon writing his own material in his bedroom. His first gig he attended was a Bryan Adams concert. He loved the unique quality of 60s pop, from the chord progressions to the melodies themselves. He wanted to capture the same sense of joy, optimism and beauty in his own music. He knew this would be a tall order, but was determined to give it his best shot. He became obsessed by his quest.
I auditioned for Busted when they were getting together, and I didn't get in. Charlie got in. Maybe they wanted someone tall because he was taller. I think that's the reason. That's what I tell myself.
The roots of the McFly phenomenon can actually be traced back to the formation of another band of enthusiastic young hopefuls, namely Busted. The year was 2001, and the NME classified section was the location. The group, who would become known as Busted, was searching for one last band member in order to complete their musical jigsaw. They ran an advertisement in the Indie Bible, and Tom Fletcher, bolstered by his burgeoning skills and hungry for a share of the limelight, fancied his chances of making the cut. He replied to the ad and turned up for his audition armed with guitar, good looks, a sexy smile, an encyclopedic knowledge of 60s guitar pop, bags of talent, and a huge dollop of swaggering self-confidence. Busted were looking for someone who fitted that bill, an individual who could make the difference between underachievement and chart domination, an X factor to take them to the next level. Tom impressed the lads with his self-assurance, maturity, knowledge, technique and enthusiasm for music. It was a close-run thing, and he made it to the final 2 candidates on the shortlist. In the end, the guys and their management had to make an agonising decision and opted for Charlie Simpson to complete their lineup. Undeterred, Tom moved on and embraced the challenge to make it his own way. He might have missed the boat for one all-conquering teen guitar band, but this experience would provide a springboard for the formation of another legend in the making. Recognising Tom's obvious gifts, the Busted management crew were determined to make something of this golden opportunity. So they approached him with the idea of putting together another band in a similar mould to Busted. They held a series of further auditions to form a new outfit centred around him, and he embarked upon his own deal with the production label of Busted's managers. The seeds of McFly were sown. The idea was to create another entertaining, in-your-face, exciting young guitar band who wanted the whole package: music, good times, celebrity, infamy. There was no point being po-faced or elitist. The band had to be looking towards television, prime-time radio and the tabloid newspapers and glossy magazines, as much as August organs like The Enemy and Q magazine. Anyone with reservations about this wouldn't make it through the selection process. Meanwhile, the ever-canny Tom had kept in touch with James Bourne from Busted and had cemented a solid bond with him both musically and personally. Recognising common interests and a shared musical ethic, they started writing together and before long had amassed a catalogue of promising songs. Though no formal band had been assembled at this stage, Tom decided to call his project McFly, after the Marty McFly character in the classic 1980s film starring Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future. He was also inspired by one of James's early songs called Year 3000. Word got round that Tom possessed something special, and a genuine buzz in the music industry developed with the recruitment of Danny Jones. A sharp, talented, creative musician with desire, energy and a desperate will to succeed. A precocious guitarist and a Springsteen obsessive, he found an artistic kindred spirit in Tom. The band was taking shape. Tom and Danny began performing low-key gigs around the London live circuit and attracted the attention of talent scouts from A&R departments. Though very much a rudimentary outfit, this nascent version of what would become McFly possessed enough charm, dynamism and potential to suggest great things in the future. Danny and Tom clicked as a partnership from day one and were both heading in the same direction. They wanted the same things: to express themselves creatively, to become famous and conquer the world with brilliant popular music. They both absorbed the lessons of the masters from rock and pop's golden heritage and were keen to update that legacy for a new generation of fans. They continued to write and record with Busted's James, who was generous with his time and talent. The three guys worked feverishly to hone their art, smooth out the rough edges and advance their knowledge. They were obsessed with stretching themselves to see how good their songs could be. There were no restrictions and anything went as far as working methods and stylistic influences. It was an open-minded, wide-eyed process. A number of the Tom, Danny, James tunes were recorded for the attention of record labels, whose response was overwhelming. They eventually performed these killer songs acoustically for key major labels, and a clamour for their signature commenced. Here were the next Busted, only a version that would prove to be significantly superior in an artistic sense. Tom and Danny eventually signed a deal with Universal Records in 2002, which set them on the first steps towards stardom and success. Their worlds would never be the same again.
When McFly started out, you know, we literally were, like, when no one knew us, we literally were 4 guys that were just going into rehearsal studios and just jamming and just rehearsing and stuff. And to us, that was a kind of bandy thing. So we didn't see ourselves as a boy band, but I think it's kind of...
In the sense that we're boys and in the band that we are, you know, obviously, yeah, you're a boy band.
The next step for McFly was to flesh out the band with additional members and establish a firm identity. Tom and Danny both had a clear vision of what they were looking for, namely creative, positive characters with individual expertise as well as a team worker mentality. It was important to find the right blend of personnel to carve out an interplay and chemistry that would be intuitive, instinctive and organic. They liked the idea of writing and recording quickly and then bringing their work to the fans as soon as possible. The other members had to be willing to subscribe to such a regime. The first step was to advertise for musicians, so they placed an ad in the NME for ambitious, young, hungry teen poppers with attitude. This ad still takes pride of place in the guys' shared North London house framed on the wall. They auditioned many musicians but recruited Harry Judd and Dougie Pointer to the team, as they clearly stood out from the other contenders. Harry's drumming abilities and Dougie's bass expertise, coupled with their enthusiasm, ambition and engaging personalities, ensured that they clinched the deal. Between the 4 of them, it was apparent from the beginning that they had a very special bond, with all 4 guys contributing something distinctive, unique and of equal worth to the McFly melting pot. Danny's guitar licks, Tom's powerful axe work and urgent vocals, Harry's slamming beats and Dougie's insistent prowling bass runs all created an unassailable, irrepressible alchemy that defied explanation and transcended the sum of its parts. With full backing from management and Universal, the guys wrote, rehearsed and gigged throughout London, attracting rave notices and lots of pre-publicity for their impending releases. Even before a single note was issued, there was a palpable sense of anticipation, intensity and excitement surrounding these young Turks. In true time-honoured boy band tradition, the lads moved into a house together and spent most of their time around each other. Life in a goldfish bowl would prove to be a test of endurance, but they rose to the challenge. Daily life came to resemble an episode from the Monkees television series, with the music punctuated by wackiness and colourful incident. However, it wasn't all plain sailing, for living in such a potentially claustrophobic environment was bound to have its downside. There were times when life in the McFly house took on a Big Brother-style atmosphere, when tensions mounted and words were exchanged in the heat of the moment. However, these moments passed and were resolved by taking time out from the maelstrom. The boys all lived on takeaway pizza and spent their time watching DVDs and playing computer games and records. They discovered that there was no room for any secrets in such an environment, not that they had wanted any. Ultimately, it was a steep learning curve for these callow teenagers, a genuine life lesson in growing up and embracing independence and maturity. McFly were ferried around in Tom's battered Fiat Punto between the house and the rehearsal studio, pausing only to stock up on fast food. A close intimacy within the group grew from these sessions. If they hadn't hit it off, there would have been major problems in getting the right blend for their musical output. In any case, fans and critics can always tell when a band or a member within the band hasn't got their heart in the project. Each one of the lads were determined to learn their trade and make the McFly brand soar to places unimagined by their conspicuous rivals, Busted. Amongst the first fruits of their early sessions were songs like 5 Colours in Her Hair, which signified that Universal had a major talent on their hands. It was apparent that McFly were capable of producing a superior, slick, expertly crafted form of raggedy, cheeky guitar pop that doffed its cap to nobody. McFly's first breakthrough, however, arrived in 2003, on the back of Busted's success. In November, they joined forces with their rivals to contribute a fiery, stomping version of the Foundation's 60s classic, Build Me Up, Buttercup, on the flip side of Busted's Crash the Wedding single. This became a smash hit and went to number 1 in the charts. In one stroke, McFly were thrust into the living rooms and pop pages of the wider public and became instantly recognised as a name to watch. Busted with a name on everyone's lips at the time, but nestled smartly just behind them on their coattails were an exciting new proposition by the name of McFly. They were clean-cut, attractive, gawkily young, fun-loving and sharp, but wielding a musical flair that made the industry sit up and take notice. There was no way that an act like Busted were going to associate themselves with a paltry, diluted teen band on their way up, and McFly's rousing take on the timeless Build Me Up Buttercup proved an immediate winner with punters and writers alike. There had to be more like it, a ton of original material that combined pizzazz, chaos, humour, positivity and fun in one supreme package. And there was.
It's about a girl called Suze, who's from a TV show called As If, and me and Danny, basically we were in a hotel and we were there for like a month, and all we watched on TV was this programme, and we just thought she was really hot, and she's got like loads of dreadlocks and colours in her hair and piercings and stuff, and we ended up just writing a song about it.
In November 2003, McFly burst onto the wider scene and appeared on SMTV for the first time, after being introduced by Busted's James. An appearance on CD UK was heralded in glowing terms. In February 2004, the murmurs and buzz surrounding this hot young group escalated into a genuine media fascination. They were being talked up as the new Busted, a label which did no harm in attracting attention and carving a niche for easy consumption, but actually did them a disservice given their bountiful gifts, in particular their melodic superiority. Their debut single, 5 Colours in Her Hair, was given its first video showing on music channels in February, while the boys mounted a charm offensive across the media. They appeared on television, radio and in magazines, promoting the 5 Colours in Her Hair single and making their faces known. By the end of the month, they embarked upon a major sellout UK arena tour, with V supporting Busted. They appeared at venues such as the Point Depot Dublin, Nottingham Arena, Birmingham NEC, Cardiff Arena, Glasgow SECC, Sheffield Arena and Manchester's MEN Arena. They performed at Wembley Arena for 5 dates during Busted's arena tour, and fans sang Happy Birthday to Danny on the 12th of March date. This was a memorable occasion, a marvellous moment when a connection, a harmony between group and audience began to hit home. Busted fans were exposed to a newer, better, more vibrant and compelling version of teen guitar pop. This was the new thrilling sound they wanted to hear. By the end of March, 5 Colours in Her Hair was in the shops and generating widespread airplay and coverage. Astonishingly, it reached the #1 spot on the singles chart. The world stood to attention and was blown away by the cute mix of intelligent power pop, sunny hooks, schoolboy cheek and effervescence emanating from within this groove. This remarkable song stayed at the top spot for a fortnight before being superseded by the controversial American singer Eamon. This gorgeous track was in fact inspired by a scene in Channel 4's teen soap As If. Danny was taken by a character in the programme and caught her being interviewed on another show, where she really looked hot. He realised she looked even more beautiful with 5 colours in her hair and a lip ring. The song comes on like a cross between the early Beatles and the Monkees, evoking a woozy midpoint between Day Tripper and Stepping Stone. It's a majestic, fresh slice of power pop that features catchy hooks, lightning-quick guitars, and a sly, knowing, adult lyrical twist in the tail. In the process, the boys usurped the American R&B singer Usher's "Yeah" from the top of the tree, and let it be known in no uncertain terms that they meant business. This was a perfect start to McFly's career, a fairy tale introduction. The success generated by their debut single was soon augmented by the release of the boys' follow-up track, Obviously. It was premiered on Top of the Pops in May and hit the shops in June. Astonishingly, Obviously repeated the success of 5 Colours in Her Hair, claiming the #1 spot, this time for a week. It received an avalanche of airplay and requests and confirmed that a full-blown phenomenon was brewing. Again, mining the vintage 60s sound for inspiration, Obviously is an effortless slab of upbeat melody, a blissful collision of the classic and the contemporary. It's a featherweight ditty that bounces breezily by with an infectious 60s swing. It features wistfully romantic lyrics and some expert guitar fizz. This track could have come from any time between 1965 and 1968, being redolent of something by the Hollies, Herman's Hermits, the Beatles or the Kinks. It gets under your skin with supreme confidence, lingering in your brain for hours after you first hear it, and inducing a spine-tingling sense of recognition. It won't let go of your senses and practically begs for repeated listening. In ousting Britney Spears from the top of the singles charts, McFly warned seasoned pop stars and starlets that no one was immune to their all-conquering brilliance. They also performed at the Olympic Torch concert to legions of adoring fans. There could be no doubting the precocious genius of McFly, a group who seemed to have stumbled upon a perfect sound and left respected luminaries on the pop scene gasping for breath in their wake. A new thing had arrived.
It's from the film. There's a basically, Danny didn't really like the name at first, and because I came up with the name, and everyone liked it apart from Danny, and so it's quite important that Danny liked the name. And I said, "Well, sit down and watch the film with me." And we watched the film, and the bit where Biff crashed into the manure truck. It says Danny's name on the side of the manure truck, so he sort of.
I was proud of that.
He took it as a sign, and he thought, well, McFly has to be the name. No, it's got his name in the film.
In July 2004, the boys from McFly unleashed their eagerly awaited debut album, entitled Room on the Third Floor. This magnum opus was one of the events of the year, a release that was pored over by an army of commentators and pop culture pundits. Containing a total of 14 cuts, including a special hidden track at the end, Room on the Third Floor is a dazzling, dizzying triumph, a delicious, pulsating joy. From Hypnotised, That Girl and Saturday Night through to Down by the Lake, Not Alone and Broccoli, this astounding debut disc represents the welding of a major label's big budget and genuine maverick talent, in essence the calculated attempt to win back kids who've become cynical about the manufactured teen pop sector and crave something with more credibility, fire and soul. There is something delightful about a group of teenagers harking back to the Beach Boys, Chuck Berry, early pre-psychedelic Beatles and the Hollies, and not caring one iota that their target audience will almost certainly have not heard of most of them. There is an easy self-assurance about them, a confidence and a faith that these tunes will find their audience and trickle through to young people's consciousness. Maybe they will then check out these vintage acts for themselves. Obviously, and Room on the Third Floor are both eloquent, breezy strum-alongs that recall the spirit of a certain Noel Gallagher during Oasis's peak years, while the atmosphere of the whole record buzzes with the beat of Noel's beloved mop tops themselves. The beats are fabulous, coercing the listener to surrender and dance like a mother. Meanwhile, the slower tunes, such as She Left Me, are executed with panache, a pristine sense of yearning and charming arrangements. Met This Girl has a most appealing two-time rhythm. Saturday Night and That Girl come wrapped in skull-crushing guitar riffs, and She Left Me even nods towards Sandy from the Grease soundtrack. Surfer Babe is warm, cheesy and summery in a Beach Boys fashion, evoking happy days in the summer, driving with the windows and the sunroof down. Conceived by Tom and James Bourne after an extensive Beach Boys listening session, Surfer Babe raises the hairs on the back of the neck with its addictive hooks and jaunty upbeat prettiness. Broccoli is an oddly titled gem, dealing with the pain of being rejected for a date in which the focus of the evening was to be cooking a meal together. Meanwhile, That Girl, the first song written for McFly by Tom and James, is brought to life by a stunning solo from Danny and features the killer line, "We spoke for hours, she took off my trousers." This remarkable album is crammed with infectious tunes and surprising left turns to keep you on your toes, never descending into pastiche or lazily recycling their best ideas. There is no cynicism, no complacency, no shortchanging their audience. It fizzes with life, ambition, love of 1960s pop, and a genuine passion for making music. Named after the hotel room Tom and Danny first shared together when they started this teen pop juggernaut, the album is a pop masterpiece to compare with the Rolling Stones' Aftermath, the Beatles with the Beatles, and the Beach Boys' Sunflower in its inclusive warmth and finely pitched sense of ornate melody. It bursts with tunes dealing with love, loss, angst, frustration and confusion, and lyrics packed with wry humour and knowing winks. Stories of crushes, rejection and parties are meshed together with irresistibly catchy tunes that demand your attention. The guys handle their influences impeccably and with a razor-sharp wit, name-checking various artists from pop's peak years. Hypnotised offers a cheeky nod to the work of Squeeze, while Broccoli finds room for the tremendous lines, "She doesn't know I'm a virgin in the kitchen, 'cause it's normally my mum." Such tricks of ingenuity and humour are laced throughout this wonderful album. The debut album flew off the shelves from the moment it was released on the 5th of July 2004 and was warmly received in the music press and newspapers. Everyone wanted a piece of McFly. Critics raced to make comparisons with the Beach Boys, the Beatles and other 60s acts and decried any facile busted references. Here was a group clearly operating on another level entirely, mixing influences with sizzling invention, vision and taste. The sound they had conjured from their imaginations was a rich, invigorating, organic amalgam of assorted inspirations. It was the sound of now, but filtered through the lens of a 60s kaleidoscope. The ghosts of vintage masters were fed into the mix, and the results made for intoxicating listening. McFly were ready to take the world by storm.
Everyone thinks that we're really glamorous and like
celebrities, but
we're not. We're just
we've
four.
done nothing celebrity-like.
Exactly.
Nothing.
It's like
Tom drives a Fiat.
Exactly. I drive a really crappy old car. Like our house is a complete mess.
McFly's ascendancy continued when Room on the Third Floor went straight to number 1 in the album charts and broke a world record in the process. They became the youngest ever band to have a number 1 album and also established another world record for being the first group to play at a film premiere when they performed as Spider-Man 2 in July 2004. Meanwhile, Tom celebrated his 19th birthday at a Radio 1 gig, and tickets for the band's first ever headline tour went on sale. In August 2004, the scintillating That Girl was picked up for single release and received a first showing on Top of the Pops. The guys appeared on several TV shows to promote the record, which was officially unveiled in September and was the first time they released a single on the DVD format. They also appeared on MTV's TRL and started touring. That Girl made it to number 3 in the singles charts. It recounts the story of a boy's fruitless attempt to attract the girl of his dreams, played out against the backdrop of some vintage rock and rolling from the Powerhouse Band, and features extensive use of the word dude. It is an astounding song, steeped in the spirit of 1960s surf rock and roll a la Chuck Berry and the Beach Boys. In the meantime, the guys played a one-off gig at the London Barfly and embarked upon a sell-out comprehensive tour of Britain through September and October. Such was the frenzy surrounding McFly that within a week of tickets going on sale, 7 nights of the tour had sold out, prompting the addition of extra dates. They played to rapturous audiences at Wolverhampton Civic Hall, Glasgow Clyde Hall, Manchester Apollo, Plymouth Pavilions, Newcastle City Hall and Hammersmith Apollo in London, amongst others. They also debuted at number 3 in the Japanese singles charts with 5 Colours in Her Hair, and announced that the title track from the album would become the group's next single release. Amidst rumours of more shows, McFly officially announced details of a 2005 tour and went in at number 5 on the singles charts with Room on the Third Floor. The promo video for the single was debuted on CD UK. Unleashed on the 15th of November, the song takes McFly literally back to their roots, to room 363 at London's Intercontinental Hotel, the scene of the construction of many of Tom and Danny's songs for the album. Further recognition of McFly's genius arrived when they picked up a gong at the Disney Awards for Best Newcomer, an award voted for entirely by viewers of the Disney Channel. They beat off competition from the likes of Natasha Bedingfield, the 411, Fix and label mates V to take home the award. They also received a nomination for Artist of the Year from the annual Digital Music Awards. Meanwhile, on the 21st of November, McFly won an astonishing 5 awards at the annual Smash Hits Poll Winners Party, held at London's Wembley Arena. They picked up trophies in the categories for Star of the Year, Best UK Band, Best Video, Best Album and Most Fanciable Male. They took the ceremony by storm and dominated proceedings throughout. In December, McFly came a close second to Busted in the vote for Record of the Year on ITV and announced they were going to record the official single for Comic Relief. The song was penned by Tom and was called All About You. Especially written for Comic Relief, the band recorded it at the legendary Abbey Road recording studios in December 2004. Comic Relief expressed genuine excitement about McFly's involvement in their cause. McFly are at the top of their game and we are delighted that they are supporting the campaign. All royalties from McFly and Island Records were donated directly to the charity.
Yeah, very, very scary.
It's scary because we don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know why. It's like, but it's good.
Cool.
It's really scary. It kind of happened it started like in December, and gradually since then it's just got more crazy, and it's just really cool. And thanks everyone for supporting us. So.
At the turn of the year, Busted announced their split, which led to speculation that James might join McFly, or more likely that a significant number of their fans would switch their allegiance to McFly. Bolstered by a nomination at the Brit Awards, the guys spread their wings creatively and entered the world of acting. They landed a cameo role in an episode of Casualty and announced their role in a film with American actress of the moment Lindsay Lohan entitled Just My Luck. They flew to the US to film scenes for the 20th Century Fox movie in Hollywood. It was shot in New York and Memphis and was expecting a late 2005 release. In the film, the guys appear as themselves and contribute several tunes to the soundtrack. In February, the new single All About You was played on Radio 1 for the first time, and they went to Uganda to shoot the video for the flip side to the single, a sublime cover of the Carole King classic You've Got a Friend, taken from her legendary masterpiece Tapestry. At the Brit Awards, they triumphed in the Best Pop Act category and received a torrent of attention and adoring press in the ceremony's aftermath. Also in February, McFly became involved in a legal wrangle with an American rock group over the rights to their name. Having proved such a massive hit in their native land, there was no way McFly were going to surrender their moniker. Record label bosses took drastic and immediate action to ensure that their charges could keep their title, with the American band being forced to change to the mighty McFly. In March, All About You, You've Got a Friend was released in the shops, preceded by a meet and greet session outside the offices of Radio 1. To record the promo video for the Comic Relief single, the boys visited Africa, where they met children with or affected by HIV and AIDS, many of whom had lost one or both parents. They also attended medical centres and slums in Kampala, and were moved by the plight of so many people. Going out there gave them a new perspective on life and reminded them of how lucky they are. The single proved to be a phenomenal success, charting at number 1 in the official singles charts as well as the downloads charts. In the process, McFly beat the Elvis Presley record Good Luck Charm, released in the same week. The song is an exquisite affair, featuring a swooning 60-piece orchestra and some of the loveliest sentiments committed to record in recent years. The version of You Got a Friend is beautiful, nudging close to the original and James Taylor's cover of a sumptuous tune. McFly's contribution to the Comic Relief Night, which raised £37 million that evening, was a masterclass for a celebrity series of Fame Academy, eventually won by Radio 1 DJ Edith Bowman. The single was eventually knocked off the top spot in both the official singles and download charts by comedian Peter Kay and 60s and 70s crooner Tony Christie. The single did no harm to sales of McFly's debut album, which was now enjoying double platinum status. In 2005, McFly experienced the downside of fame and success experience. Firstly, they attracted the derision of countless serious rock heavyweights who complained that they were lightweight, weedy and shouldn't be taken seriously. They were nominated for Worst Album of the Year at the NME Brat Awards. Nouveau Brit poppers Kasabian voiced concern about McFly's runaway success, calling them a pop act for kids. They poured scorn on their music, image and fan base. McFly retorted by pointing out that they never set out to be a rock or punk band and never once claimed to be in that category. They made it clear that they are far from your typical boy band and write pop songs because they are in love with pop music. They also reminded critics that the Beatles started out as a pop act and Elton John was a manufactured pop star before evolving into the national treasure he is today. Moreover, it is increasingly clear that the lines between rock and pop are becoming more blurred, and that an audience for a more credible NME-friendly or hip group such as Green Day won't necessarily differ greatly from those in the audience at a McFly show. Barriers of taste hierarchies have been penetrated in the last decade. In addition, McFly was subjects of a couple of media fraud stories proven to be hoaxes. There was a fake story posted on the internet that claimed that Harry and Lindsay Lohan had become an item, and the Daily Mirror went to press with a story about Harry quitting the group. In the main, though, the guys were enjoying the fruits of their diligence. Danny helped raise money for the Tsunami Charity Fund by playing in a charity football match, and McFly appeared in a Walker's Crisp advert on television. They jetted off to New Orleans to record material for their hotly anticipated sophomore album and shoot more scenes with Lindsay Lohan for Just My Luck. An official book about the guys was published on the 24th of March. In the film, the band's manager falls in love with Lohan and immediately his luck changes. His band become huge stars. The 6 songs McFly have composed for the film are mostly brand new tunes. As if this wasn't enough, the band also pledged to try to crack the big US of A by the end of 2005. They concentrated on completing their second album, compiling a strategy for stateside domination and thinking about another arena tour.
You know, we're like an actual pop band.
Yeah.
I think we've got like a drummer and a bass player and things like that. And
We've been playing since we was like 5-year-old as well.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, the boy bands, the thing, usually when you think of a boy band, you think of sort of like, you know, just people that just sing and perform and stuff.
Dance.
And, you know, we
don't have any
play the music. We play the music and sing it.
it's just because people call us a boy band if they want. It's just that people sort of have a set image of if they haven't seen us before and they just read that we're a boy band, they might just think that we that we don't play our instruments.
Yeah,
things like that.
because pictures with us where we don't have our instruments on us and it's written we're a boy band.
McFly have single-handedly revitalised the music-buying public's faith in intelligent, sophisticated, upbeat guitar pop with no pretensions or frills. However, they didn't appear from nowhere, fully formed and pristine. They have achieved stardom and success, partly through hard work and determination, partly through inherent talent and an alchemy of those singular talents, and also through an education in absorbing the pioneering evergreen sounds of guitar bands from a good few previous generations. So who are these artists? Who were responsible for turning these gifted boys onto the enduring power and majesty of great pop? And how effective have they been so far in pooling together these influences and transcending them to create something genuinely original and fresh? From the beginning, it was clear that McFly would be a melodic outfit, given that all 4 members were raised on a diet of tuneful, emotive pop and rock, and the band's creative engine, namely Tom and Danny, were immersed in vintage sounds from the halcyon days of melodic pop from as early as possible. Danny and Tom started playing guitar when they were just 5 years old and very quickly educated themselves about pop history. The records of the Beatles, The Who, the Beach Boys and Bruce Springsteen featured heavily in their adolescent years and instructed them in songcraft, melody, dynamics, literary writing and simplicity of style. Danny was also attracted by the bluesier work of Gary Moore and the records of Kelly Joe Phelps. Oasis and the Charlatans, in particular the Definitely Maybe and Some Friendly albums, took up residence on his stereo and continued to do so. Other faves of his include John Mayer, Alanis Morissette, The Who and Eva Cassidy. He describes hearing Born to Run by Springsteen as like a light bulb being switched on in his head. For Danny, this was the equivalent of the boss telling him, "This is it, this is special, now go and create some of that magic yourself." Danny is by nature a mellow, unflustered character whose only vice is biting his nails. Adam Sandler is one of his biggest non-musical influences, as is the film E.T. He strives to capture the feel of that film through his music. Tom was entranced by the sound of the Beatles and the Beach Boys as a kid, and that enchantment still hasn't worn off. He was obsessed with their records and the whole 60s pop scene in general. It seemed a time when popular mainstream tastes were more sophisticated than their equivalents these days. Whereas many mercurial talents in today's pop climate operate in a different parallel commercial universe to many undeserving pop puppets, the situation of the 60s was very different. Groundbreaking visionary figures like Jimi Hendrix, Sly Stone, Burt Bacharach, Stevie Wonder and James Brown enjoyed chart success and appeared on mainstream television shows of the era. Tom was driven by a desire to replicate the achievements of Lennon and McCartney and Brian Wilson within a contemporary context. Other influences on him included Tom DeLonge, Justin Timberlake and Avril Lavigne. Tom Hanks and Katie Holmes are the actors he most admires, and the films that have affected him deeply are The Beach, Vanilla Sky, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters and The Shawshank Redemption. Harry's tastes accommodate the Beatles, Blink-182, Chris Cornell, The Used, Alanis Morissette and The Doors. His favourite song in the world is Hey Jude by the Beatles, and he is particularly moved by tight, dynamic rhythm sections and concise songwriting. The actors he most admires are Keira Knightley, Jennifer Aniston and Jim Carrey. Dougie's favourite bassist are those who contribute exactly what is needed to a song without exercising flashiness or self-indulgence. He loves Blink-182, Tom DeLonge and Evanescence. His cinema idols are Hilary Duff and Brad Pitt. In fact, the group's influences and inspirations range from the very early 1960s through to contemporary artists. They claim inspiration from all the way back to the dawn of rock and roll and Bill Haley and the Comets. The current bands that rock their boat are those who also plough a 60s-style furrow from the Coral and Oasis to the Thrills. Taken together, these influences and inspirations provide a daunting prospect to any young whippersnapper to live up to. So far, with one spectacular album under their belts, McFly have displayed a supreme facility for soaking up influences like a sponge. Their magpie approach, take a bit from here, a dollop from there, results in a shiny new, refreshing, idiosyncratic style that falls somewhere between out-and-out homage and a new style of their own. The original bits of their music are certainly very promising and augur well for future development. They also complement the brazen bits of pastiche, which nevertheless are always handled deftly and with self-awareness and wit. It would be churlish to expect complete innovation from a band with just the one record on their CV. Even the Beatles took a few albums before they transcended Motown, Chuck Berry and early rock and roll.
We had this competition a while ago that we had this piece of paper stuck up on the wall, and every time someone made a mistake, we had our names written on it, and you mark a mark on it. And Danny was in the lead with the mistakes. And
I won.
And Harry won.
I had the least.
Followed second by me.
I'm rubbish under pressure.
McFly are a different proposition to other teen guitar slingers on the contemporary music scene. Their influences put them in a different stratosphere, and their style, attitude, craft and keen intelligence place them at the forefront of modern popular art. There is a refreshing lack of cynicism about the whole McFly enterprise. No brazen bandwagon jumping, no tedious boasting or inane posturing. They eschew the witless, buttock-clenching self-importance of many hairy guitar bands operating under the rock umbrella, while simultaneously evading lowest common denominator's subservience to mainstream pop banality. This astonishingly precocious band have mature heads on young shoulders, dipping into pop's archive of heroes for inspiration and impetus, and exhibiting a deep love for, and innate grasp of, the melody-soaked golden greats from pop's esteemed canon of cool. They clearly know their history and are not in awe of it. Rather, they allow themselves to be pushed to the limit in trying to match these idols. The thrill of pop oozes through the band's veins. They still act like dizzy kids stumbling on their first musical discoveries and being transported out of their everyday lives. Music is their passion and it fires them up, drives them on to be as creative as they can. They aim to make fantastic, joyous pop classics in the mould of Don't Worry Baby or Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys. These are their blueprints, their parameters of ambition. For a group who are still not fully formed, these guys display an audacious grasp of sunny effervescence, goose-bumping, inducing guitar pop that refuses to leave your head and makes your heart take a leap every time you hear it. There is nowhere they can't take this juggernaut if they so choose. For the question to ask at this stage is, do McFly have it in them to take a left turn and carve out a career at the vanguard of progressive alternative guitar pop with a twist? Or will they pursue their pop idol dreams and stick to the safer, more commercial route of churning out variations on the standard McFly theme? It's a conundrum that vexes even the most well-meaning and radical of acts, and so often groups end up falling somewhere between the two stools. As a result, neither the artists nor the fans are satisfied. On the evidence presented so far, McFly certainly have it in them to take that leap into the left field, for their grasp of tradition and dedication to updating it with a new, fresh twist augurs well for more radical experimentation. Their tunes might wear their influences on their sleeves in conspicuous fashion, but their authors are raw, hungry and keen to progress. They realise that artistic stasis is an anathema to both long-term career prospects and personal satisfaction. Will McFly keep on moving, or will they submit to the commercial pop rulebook that states that the young record-buying public only ever want and expect more of the same? It will be fascinating to see where this gloriously talented band decide to take their hugely successful and critically respected brand of retro-tinged pop. It should be one of music's most compelling stories.
Thank you for buying Maximum McFly. We hope you enjoyed it. Watch out for further titles on Chrome Dreams coming up soon. If you did enjoy it or have any comments or suggestions, write to us at Chrome Dreams, PO Box 230, New Malden, Surrey, UK, KT36YY, or email on mail@chromedreams.co.uk. Details of our full catalogue are listed on our website at www.chromedreams.co.uk. Thanks again for listening, and goodbye for now.